Going full-time wasn't a victory lap, kid. It wasn't the champagne moment people like to post about online. It was the loneliest and most terrifying decision I ever made. Because the day I decided trading would be how I fed myself, the market stopped being a game and became a judge, one that evaluated me every single morning without mercy. Before that, trading lived in the margins of my life, tucked neatly between a steady paycheck and the comforting illusion of security. Losses stung, sure, but they didn't threaten my survival. Wins felt exciting, but they weren't necessary. And that distance made me careless in ways I didn't yet understand. I thought I was ready long before I actually was, and that's a dangerous place to stand. The decision came quietly, not in a burst of confidence, but in a slow-burning frustration with a life that felt smaller than my ambition. I told myself I had paid my dues, that I had survived enough losses, learned enough lessons, and earned the right to bet on myself. What I didn't fully grasp was that trading full-time doesn't amplify your strengths. First, it amplifies your weaknesses. The first morning, I woke up with no job to go to, no paycheck. Waiting at the end of the week, the air felt heavier. The charts looked the same, but my relationship with them had changed. Every tick now carried weight. Every decision felt permanent. I wasn't trading opportunities anymore. I was trading rent groceries time. And that pressure crawled into my head in ways I was not prepared for. I started trading too much, not because the setups were there, but because silence scared me. A flat day felt like failure. A missed trade felt like wasted potential. I chased movement the way a drowning man chases air, and the market punished me for it relentlessly. There were months when my account barely moved, and those months were harder than losing ones, because doubt thrives in stagnation. I questioned everything: my edge, my discipline, my sanity. I watched friends with stable careers sleep peacefully, while I lay awake at night, replaying charts in my head, wondering if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. No one tells you how quiet full-time trading is. There's no applause, no feedback, no reassurance you're doing the right thing. Just you, a screen, and results that speak only after long stretches of uncertainty. During the dot-com aftermath, I learned that lesson brutally. Volatility dried up, opportunities shrank, and suddenly my strategies stopped working the way they used to. I felt exposed like a craftsman whose tools had gone dull overnight. That's when I realized full-time trading isn't about having one good system. It's about adaptation without desperation. I cut my size. I traded less. I swallowed my pride and accepted that survival mattered more than income in those phases. That humility kept me alive long enough to see conditions improve. But the real test came in 2008, when fear flooded the markets, and every headline felt like a threat to my existence. Being full-time meant I couldn't look away. I couldn't wait it out from the sidelines. I had to operate inside the storm while protecting my capital and my mind. That year taught me that going full-time doesn't mean trading more. It means trading better, cleaner, with ruthless selectivity. I learned to treat cash as a position to respect drawdowns, like injuries, to step back before emotional damage became permanent. Still, the hardest part wasn't the market cycles, it was the identity shift. When trading is your job, losses don't just hit your account, they hit your sense of self. A bad week felt like a verdict on my worth. I had to rebuild my relationship with results, to separate who I was from how I performed, or the pressure would have crushed me. That separation took years. It took failed months, missed opportunities, and long walks where I questioned whether freedom was worth this kind of psychological weight. And then COVID came ripping certainty out of the world overnight, and for the first time in my full-time career, I saw clearly why I had survived where others hadn't. The years of restraint, of living below my means, of respecting risk, of not needing to trade every day, They all converged into calm when panic ruled everyone else. I wasn't fearless, but I was prepared. And in that preparation, I finally understood the truth about going full-time. It's not about quitting a job, it's about accepting responsibility so total that there's nowhere left to hide. No boss, no excuses, no safety net, just decisions and consequences repeated day after day until discipline becomes instinct and patience becomes a way of breathing. And as I look back now, I can say this without hesitation, going, full-time didn't make me richer. First, it made me smaller. Stripped away, ego forced me to confront who I really was under pressure, and only after that did it slowly, quietly begin to reward consistency, because full-time trading is not a lifestyle upgrade. It's a long apprenticeship to uncertainty, one that only pays off if you're willing to survive the years, where progress is invisible, confidence is fragile, and the only thing keeping you in the game is the quiet belief that if you keep showing up, keep refining, keep respecting the market and yourself, the path will eventually reveal itself. Not all at once, but candle by candle, lesson by lesson, until one day, you realize you didn't just become a full-time trader, you became someone capable of carrying the weight of that choice. And that realization only arrives when you finally stop chasing the dream and start living the reality of it. Because the real story of full-time trading isn't about freedom or money. It's about endurance, responsibility, and the slow, often painful process of becoming someone who can sit alone with uncertainty and still execute with clarity. And that journey truly begins the moment you understand that the dream everyone sells you is only the surface story, and beneath it lies a grind that asks far more of you than most people are willing to give, because from that point on, every single day, tested whether I truly understood what I had signed up for, and I learned quickly that full-time trading doesn't care about your motivation speeches or your vision boards. It only responds to preparation, restraint, and the ability to endure long stretches where nothing goes your way and no one is there to tell you to keep going. And there were mornings when I sat in front of the screen, feeling hollow, questioning whether consistency was even possible, whether the small edges I relied on were real or just stories I told myself to stay sane. And yet I showed up anyway, not because I felt confident, but because discipline had replaced hope as my fuel. And over time, that quiet persistence began to shape me in ways I couldn't see in the moment. I stopped chasing the idea of freedom and started respecting the cost of independence. I learned to budget my emotions the same way I budgeted my risk, knowing that a reckless emotional decision could do just as much damage as a reckless trade. I accepted that some months were about survival, not growth, and that pulling back was not failure, but strategy. And somewhere along that long, uneven road, something subtle shifted. The market stopped feeling like an enemy I had to conquer and started feeling like an environment I had to coexist with. Losses still hurt. Wins still mattered, but neither defined me the way they once did. I wasn't trading to prove myself anymore. I was trading to stay alive in the game. That's when full-time trading finally began to make sense, not as an escape from a job, but as a responsibility so heavy it forces you to grow into it or be crushed by it. I realized that the real story isn't about the moment you quit your job or the first month you pay your bills from trading. It's about the years where no one sees the struggle, the restraint, the self-doubt, the constant recalibration, and the humility required to admit when you're wrong and adjust before the market does it for you. And if there's anything I want you to understand from my journey, it's that going full-time is not a finish line. It's a commitment to live with uncertainty without flinching, to carry the weight of your decisions, without blaming the world, and to keep showing up long after the excitement fades, because that's where the real transformation happens. And if this story resonated with you, if it mirrored questions you're wrestling with right now, take a moment to leave a comment with your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe so I can keep sharing the lessons the market spent a lifetime teaching me.